There are around 1.2 billion cars on the road, and each car produces 18 pounds of CO2 per gallon. The average car has a mileage of 23 miles per gallon, and the average car drives 15,000 miles a year. After we did the math, we figured out that each year, 884,000 tons of carbon dioxide are produced by cars alone. This pollution is deteriorating our atmosphere, causing smog in populated cities like LA. Currently, except for emission laws, there is nothing stopping CO2 from going directly into our atmosphere. Petrol gas is a clear liquid which is extremely flammable and has a strong odor to it. It is created by pumping out petroleum from the ground, refining it, and taking out hydrocarbons until it is at a prime, and then is processed, stored, and shipped off in fuel trailers. It costs an estimate of $1.30 to produce every gallon of fuel, for which the public pays $2.50 for. After being used as fuel, there is no further life for the gas besides CO2 in our atmosphere. Due to its wide demand, petrol gas doesn't need to be marketed. It has become a daily necessity for the average human. Petrol gas is the leading cause of air pollution and the main source of income for many countries.
The regular combustion engine works in a decently simple manner. Most engines have 4 or more cylinders working together to create the power. First is the intake stroke. The inlet valve is opened and a fuel-air mixture is drawn in as the piston travels down. Second is the compression stroke. The inlet valve is closed. The piston travels back up the cylinder, compressing fuel-air mixture. Just before the piston reaches the top of its compression stroke, a spark plug emits a spark to combust the fuel-air mixture. Third is the combustion stroke. The piston is forced down by the pressure wave of combustion of the fuel-air mixture. The engine's power is derived from this cycle. Fourth is the exhaust stroke. The exhaust valve is opened. The piston travels back up, expelling the carbon dioxide through exhaust valve. At the top of the stroke, the exhaust valve is closed. Then this process is repeated. This process spins the crankshaft, which then transfers the energy through the transmission and then to the wheels.
Companies such as Tesla have tried to address the problem by developing all-electric cars, which have no emissions and run on a rechargeable battery. The setback to these vehicles is their range and price. The typical Tesla only has around 208 miles to 335 kilometers, where an average car has around 400 miles, which is almost twice the range of the Tesla. Also, the cost of the Tesla in the lowest model is around $92,000 versus the regular car, which is only around $50,000. Again, almost half the price. By switching over to electric, you lose half the range, which is not always something someone is willing to give up. That is also why you don't see very many Teslas on the road today. Hydrogen is one of the most abundant atoms. Contained in almost everything, it is no surprise we are moving towards it to power our everyday mobility. Hydrogen fuel cell cars offer an alternative to normal gas, without the loss of range or convenience. Due to the chemical reaction taking place inside the fuel cell, the only byproduct of this vehicle is 100% pure water, or H2O. Hydrogen fuel cell cars have a range of 312 miles, which is just below that of a normal car. Plus, they do not need to be recharged, and they only need to be filled by a process that takes less than 5 minutes. The alternative is hours of waiting for electric cars to charge up. By switching over to hydrogen fuel cell cars, we eliminate 90% of our air pollution. In today's world, the average price of a Tesla is around $92,000 versus the Toyota version of a hydrogen cell-powered car, which costs only around $52,000, almost half the price, where it gives us almost double the performance. The cost to fill up a hydrogen fuel cell car is around the exact same as a gasoline-fueled car. However, it produces no emissions. So basically, they're the same cost to fill up. However, the hydrogen fuel cell car does not produce any emissions of CO2.
If you're anything like me, you're tired of hearing of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles and not fully understand how they work. And that's why I'm here today. The hydrogen is stored in the tank, and oxygen is taken from the atmosphere around it. These two things are fed into the fuel cell and then split by a proton exchange membrane. What this does is it merges the two hydrogen and oxygen to create energy and water. And now I'm going to show you how. So now that we're taking a closer look at the hydrogen fuel cell, we know that hydrogen is stored here and oxygen is here. What this does is it makes the hydrogen atoms into hydrogen ions, splitting the hydrogen from its electrons. The hydrogen ions are then allowed to pass through the membrane and into the oxygen, creating H2O. But there's still electrons left over. Now that the electrons are stuck over here, they want to get to over here, back to their hydrogen ions. So, they have to take an alternate route. This is through a wire that is connected to the motor. The current flow through this wire is what powers the motor. These electrons flowing through that wire are creating electricity, which then powers the motor, powering the wheels of the car. This is how a hydrogen fuel cell motor works. As long as you have hydrogen to mix with air, you have fuel and your car can continue to run. Unfortunately, like all startups, the hydrogen fuel cell car isn't fully perfected yet. There are many things that are still wrong and still have to be fixed before it could be a fully mass-produced object. Such as 95% of our hydrogen gas right now is produced by burning methane. The problem with this is that we're actually creating CO2 while we're trying to get rid of it on the roads. But this isn't a bad thing. The CO2 produced by producing hydrogen gas is only a fraction of that we have produced during driving cars every single day. So really, we are helping and we are contributing to the healthiness of our planet. The dream for this technology is to refine the making of hydrogen gas. That way, the production of hydrogen gas will be completely carbon dioxide free. Besides its carbon footprint and the fact that not a lot of people know about it, there are other things that are drawing people away from buying hydrogen fuel cell cars. Those might be that in order to fill your car, you need to find a station that produces and distributes hydrogen fuel. This isn't very common nowadays. It is in cities like Tokyo and in cities in Europe, such as London, but it isn't in the United States. In the United States, the city with the most hydrogen refueling stations is LA. In order for this to be a mainstream thing, we need to disperse these stations and we need to put them in more places. If we want more people to start using hydrogen cells, we need to promote this. And that's why we're here with you. We want you to take this advice. We want you to do the research. We want you to look into it. This is a possibility for you. You could be driving one of these cars in the next 10 years. These cars are the best alternative we have. With the high amount of range, the same price as a normal car, and you don't have to give up very much. They are the obvious option to keeping our planet clean for generations to come.
Of 23 miles per gallon, and the average car drives 15 million miles.